What's up, everyone? Welcome to another exciting live episode of Fix My List, your weekly Thursday show where we, the Art of War coaches, fix your lists. Richard, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing amazing. I'm really glad to be here. We're Imperium, okay? So this is for the Emperor. There's nothing but the Holy Inquisition is looking over us.
The two-armed Emperor. Let's just clarify here
The two-armed Emperor, for sure.
Deviants in the chat.
There can be no more than two arms.
I see no reason.
I do not believe.
Two arms is good enough for the Emperor. It's good enough for me, you know?
Well, we are here to fix my list. So this is a feature that we do weekly. And our war members can submit lists on our Discord in a special thread. And we pick 3 every single week that we're going to fix. And we've been rotating through where we try and do an Imperium week, we try and do Xenos, do Chaos, and then, sometimes we'll do it specific to factions. Like a couple weeks ago we had Tau. But we try and rotate so we have all the different lists represented. So if you want your list fixed, go ahead and check out the description below, thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial. Get in there, check out all the amazing content we put on, and on top of that, you get to submit your list for this.
Absolutely. So, thank you for joining us, everyone. Make sure you like this content if you like the content, and subscribe to the channel. That is how we continue to put on all this awesome 40k stuff for you.
Give us a comment below and let us know what you're looking forward to in future Fix My Lists.
I'm looking forward to fixing these lists.
All right,
you ready for this one, Richard?
These are Imperium, so both of us play most of the Imperium armies.
Excellent.
So we're going to start off here with the Sisters of Battle, the Adeptus Sororitas. And this is a list from Squidolopod.
Yeah, I think it's a squidolopod. It's like a cephalopod, but it's a squidolopod.
So
very specific cephalopod.
He submitted this one, and he's looking for some help heading in. And I know I saw in chat there's a couple other Sisters players who are looking for some advice on their list. Sisters are down there at what, like 41-ish, 40% win rate?
It definitely doesn't start with a 5.
They're bottom 5, I believe.
I honestly would have guessed they started with a 3, but 41% sounds believable.
I think they're around there, 39 to 41%. But definitely, it's an army that not easy to play. It's got some tools, and John, you're going to talk to us about some of those tools because they kind of have to be in most lists.
Absolutely. So let's go through what Squidolopod's list is right now. So of course, this is the Hollowed Martyrs detachment, the only detachment that Sororitas have access to. In this list, we have the Triumph of St. Catherine. I'll tell you what, she's not going anywhere. Junith Eureka, 2 Dialogus, and a Canoness. Then we have 2 units of 10 Battle Sisters. 2 units of 10 Celestian Sacrosancts, 5 Seraphim, 2 Crusaders, 2 Death Cult Assassins, a single Penitent Engine, 2 Exorcists, 1 Immolator Tank, a Rhino, 2x5 Retributors, and a Calidus Assassin. So, we've got a little bit of cheap stuff, a little bit of mission play. We have the 2 Retributor units. We've got about 4 tanks, 2 transports, 2 actual tanks, and then a pretty decent investment in characters as well, as quite a few different 10-strong units of Sisters here.
Yep. So the good thing about Sisters is they actually have natively cheap units. The issue here is, what are the main damage dealers? What are going to be able to kill those units that are standing on objectives? What is going to stand on objectives themselves?
Absolutely. So looking through this list, the first thing that jumps to my mind is we've got 20 Battle Sisters, 20 Sacrosancts. None of these are bad units, but they're still 1 wound T3 with a 3-up save.
Yep, and cover no longer brings them to a 2-up, so they're just not that tanky.
And those Sacrosancts are often -1 to wound. I'm guessing that the leader loadout here is that you join a Canoness and Junith to each of those Sacrosancts to make them -1 to wound. The 2 Dialogus join the 2 Retributors, and the Triumph joins 1 of the 2 Battle Sisters.
Yeah.
So we've got a decent amount of infantry rumbling around. There is always the option to replace some of those infantry with things like, tanks. But the main thing is that I want to get more damage dealing into this list.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I know you played Sacrosancts towards the beginning, and boy, were they woefully inadequate.
Yeah, that was unfortunately one of the problems I ran into with the Celestian Sacrosancts, is that they don't hit particularly hard in combat. They're not fragile for their points. It's 3-up armor, 4-up invul, -1 to wound. So if you don't expect them to do damage, it's fine. But I think that in general, this Sisters list needs to have a little bit more damage.
Yep.
All things considered, looking at this, we've got a Calidus Assassin in there right now. We're at 1995. A lot of Sisters lists that I've seen have included Knight allies. There aren't any Knight allies in this list, so I'm inclined to just kind of leave it as is. not put the Knight allies in, but I will say if you're trying to get a little more damage into your list, taking an ally of an Imperial Knight Freeblade is a very legitimate option.
If you were going to go that direction here, and let's, like you said, we can keep it pure Sisters for now, but if you were going to go the direction of Knights, what would you bring in here for Sisters specifically?
I think so. Since you only get one, you either get 3 battle line or 1 big ones. I think I would either do 3 Warglaives and just say, hey, we're packing some long range Melta shots, which is always nice. Sisters already pack Melta, but frankly, I want more, and I like it at strength 12.
Yeah.
Or there's always the option of taking a single big knight. I don't think a Castellan is quite worth it, but a Castellan would likely be the one you look at.
Yeah, over Canis Rex or something like a Crusader.
Could do Canis Rex. I would not mind Canis Rex because you still get all the default strats, which is pretty good.
Yep. All right, so let's park that for a second. What are we cutting to start? Open up some points here.
All right, so first thing that I'm looking at as, sadly, things that do not inspire joy. One of these Sacrosanct bricks, in my mind, is going to take the boot.
Gone.
As well, I absolutely hate to say this out loud. I don't like Junith that much. So Junith's thing is that she is like mediocre in combat and shooting, and she's a little tougher than a canoness, and she gives you a CP. And that's cool. I do like having command points, but it doesn't. The command point you get for Junith doesn't stack with the command point you get for cards. So like if you discard a card, you don't get 2 CP. Also, I'm gonna be honest, Sisters don't really need
CP.
They don't really need CP. And her other thing of note is that she gives her unit -1 to hit. So you can, at that point, get a Sacrosanct unit that is -1 to hit and -1 to wound, but it is a 230-point brick that doesn't deal a lot of damage and is still not hard to kill. It's now has gone from annoying to pretty annoying. Hasn't gone to difficult.
I'm going to give you an analogy here because I went down the same exact rabbit hole with Admech, which is that Corpuscari priests, they are 5 up Invuln, 5 up Feel No Pain. But all of a sudden you put a character inside, now they're -1 to wound, you could throw the -1 to hit upgrade enhancement on that character, and then you can bump your 5 of Feel No Pain to a 4 up, and you're like, hey, this is a pretty durable unit. And then the game is like, wow, anti-infantry 2+ just deleted, or volume of fire, crazy unit, kills you.
Yeah.
And I was like, this durability just doesn't stack up because it's T3, and T3 is just so easy to wound for almost everything in the game. So I found that putting extra points into that, probably not worth it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I tried Junith, I've tried the Sacrosancts. I don't think they're gonna make the cut here. The Triumph of St. Catherine is 100% staying in, and at least 1 Battle Sister unit to accompany her. However, the second Battle Sister unit looks like it's trying to go into an Immolator and split. I don't dislike that, but I don't like that. I think an Immolator, unfortunately, is a little too expensive. So I think that Immolator is going to get the boot.
Immolator and one of the Battle Sister squads?
Once you do that, I do think you then cut the Battle Sister squad.
Right, we're freeing up some points here.
We're freeing up some points here. We are making some room. So, of the things that are left, 1 Battle Sister squad in the Triumph I think is fantastic. 2 Exorcists, fantastic. 1 Rhino, the 2 Retributor squads I'm going to keep in. This is like heretical. I actually am starting to get a little bit cold on Retributors because that range really makes me feel unhappy.
18, right?
18. I think I'm going to leave them in here because 165 for that kind of package is, I think, still worth it just because Sisters do want to have some damage. I've written some lists that have
Are they supposed to be 165?
No, sorry, the 35 points for the Dialogist.
Gotcha.
As well. I was kind of factoring it in there. But I think in the end that it's still worth taking, especially if you're investing in Rhino.
Okay.
So we've trimmed most of the things that I want. I'm not sold on the Canoness and other Sacrosanct unit, frankly. So what the Canoness does is she gives her unit reroll hits.
Yeah.
If we're trying to kind of slam some damage in there...
It's so slow, though. You have to put it... Yeah, I have to put in the Rhino, and... Rhinos, it can be hard to navigate them on terrain.
I was planning to try to get a second Rhino in here, if I'm being honest. But I'm also gonna try to resist the urge to make this just a tank army.
Yeah.
Because Sisters, unfortunately, do slightly lend themselves to that problem. So before I cut anything, I actually do want to explore some other options as far as those characters go. Yep. I know how the named characters stack up. What I actually want to take a quick look at before I decide anything is the Palatine. because I recall that the Palatine hits harder than the Canonist somehow if you buy her the melee enhancement. So I just wanted to take a quick peek down Palatine lane and just see what that could get for me. So what you do with the Palatine is you buy her an enhancement. So let's just pull that up real quick. Boop, boop, boop. Because honestly, I have not taken a Palatine, but I do want to get a little more melee in here, and I keep getting to the point where I'm like, this melee that I took isn't enough. Let's look at the next option, and I haven't found the final next option
This
yet.
melee hits like a wet noodle.
Yeah. So let's...
While you're looking that up, we got Matto with a $5 super chat. Woohoo! Can we convert John to the Paragons are overcosted but actually do damage School of Thought, assuming no knight allies?
Oh, Matt, you are
Way ahead
you're
of
jumping
the
the ball here, but we have freed up a lot of points, Matt. So let's hold that thought, shall we? Let's just hold that thought. So the Blade of St. Eleanor gives +1 attack strength damage to the bearer, and if the bearer has lost any wounds, +2 attack strength damage. Okay, so those are good buffs to have. +1 attack strength damage.
Can she take a plasma pistol and you try and...
and try to wound
hazardous?
yourself? She can. She can, in fact, take a plasma pistol. So, it's free, so, why not, right? Let's go ahead now and just take a little peek at that Palatine again. See what +1 attack strength damage can do for her. So, boop, 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 boop. Her melee weapon is a Palatine Blade. So if you put +1 attack strength damage, she's going to go to 5 attacks at strength 5, damage 3, which isn't bad.
What's her AP?
It's AP 2 base.
Nice.
And then her abilities, this is the kind of important part. So she gives her unit lethal. That part's cool. And each time you selected a fight, you can discard a Miracle Ice. And if you do, each time she scores a wound, she deals 1 mortal in addition.
That's not,
So that's not
pretty
bad.
darn hard.
Yep. And she will inherently have lethal hits, of course, for leading unit. So I am kind of inclined to
Switch out the Canonist here.
switch out the Canonist for a Palatine. I don't think the reroll
Is it
hits.
Palatine or Palatine?
Palatine. You spelled it correctly.
Okay.
And she's going to go to 70 points.
She's got
A Palatine Blade, which is the default option. So
Blade, and then she has some sort of upgrade.
it's the Blade of Saint Eleanor. I think they spell Eleanor with a Y. There you go. That is definitely close enough. And that'll make her cost 70.
All right. So even cheaper. Whoops.
Just a little cheaper. Just every point that we can free up is positive.
All right. So I'm going to move her up next to the Triumph.
Absolutely, yeah.
Those are
I think she's going to go in.
And then I will move this Dialogus out of the way. Mm-hmm. And we're keeping the Dialogus?
I think we are. So there's a strong argument in my mind to be made for not having 2 Retributors, but we do need some damage, and Retributors keep people honest. And if you have transport to protect them, I think you can still get good value out of them late game once you have the full factory working and you have the Triumph, of course, nearby.
Anything else that we're definitely keeping on here? Keeping these cheap
I
units?
definitely am keeping the cheap units. Frankly, it's likely that we're going to get more.
Okay. I'm going to move them over here.
Yep. And I'll keep one. It's painful. I will keep one Sacrosanct unit in.
We could delete it at the end.
Yeah, they really might go at the end of this. The problem is that I want someone to get joined by that Palatine. I don't want her just hopping out of the boat by herself. As much fun as that will be.
See, you haven't reached my Votan levels of list building yet.
Not yet. But
Not yet.
And I'm just taking a real quick peek at the abilities here of the Palatine or of the Saxons because I think they're okay. Cool. A Palatine also gives the -1 to wound. It's Candace, Palatine, or Junith. I remembered it wasn't everyone, but I just need to check who it was. Yep. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, at that point, yeah, we can keep the mace. I really like Seraphim. I think everything that's in the list right now at this point is likely going to stay.
Okay.
I think we're at that point. So let me actually total this up, get a nice little tally, real quick, and then we can start looking at how to finish out this list. So we've got no Junith, goodbye. We do have a Triumph, love that for her. And we have 2 Dialogus. And that's it for characters, right? Yeah, we've just got that for now. Okay. Let's get Rets in here.
2 units of Retributors. We got the Rhino, double Exorcist.
Building in that wonderful GW app, so I'm just going back and forth through some things right now. We have 1 Rhino at the moment. And we've got... Alright, now we need to add everything else.
Smattering of cheap nonsense. Penitent Engine, 5 Seraphim, 2 Crusaders, 2 Death Cult Assassins.
Alright.
You get a lot of stuff in a Sisters list.
You really can. They have a lot
And
of
then I'm
cheap
like,
units.
what does any of this do?
That is the question. Alright. Oh, and I just need the Caldus Assassin. She's the other
Similar
side.
to Drukhari, it's like you can just get a boatload of units,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, wow, I have a lot of units.
I do like that aspect because it does help
Yeah.
Sisters just like scatter and play secondaries pretty well.
Yep.
Let me just double check. Alright, so we've got Dialogus, Palatine, Triumph. So that's the characters. We have a Battle Sister Squad. That's the only battle line. We have a Rhino. That's the only transport. We've got a 10 Brick of Sacrosanct, 2 Exorcists, 1 Penitent, 2 Retributors, a Seraphim Squad, a Caldus Assassin. So I just need to add the 2 cheap units, the Crusaders and Death Cults.
Yep.
Okay.
And you got the one Rhino, right?
Yes, got the one Rhino.
Okay.
All right, so that puts us at 1510. So we have 490 points to work with there, which is not an inconsiderable amount. Matto, maybe spoiled a little bit with the super chat. I want Paragons.
You're going for the Paragons.
I'm going for the Paragons.
All right, I'm going to copy this.
So I think the key is that you want your Paragons in reserve.
Do they run in 3?
They run in 3, so it's just 3 Paragons, 240 points. But here's the thing. Morvenval is cheap. And Morvenval is good enough that I probably have Morvenval on my list regardless of the Paragon situation. Like, I would just take her alone.
Is it multi-meltas?
Yeah, 3 multi-meltas. And they'll have the Warblades. And that is a clean 240.
All right. And we're going after Morvenval.
Morvenval. Again, I love that Morvenval is inexpensive. She's 135.
Okay.
I mean, obviously she's not the same as when I was paying like 280 for her, but I think she's worth it. Matto, we love having you in chat. Appreciate you. Okay, so that leaves us at 1885. But my thought process with the Paragons here is that they're a little bit fragile for points because it's still 20 points per wound for a, like, I think they're T6, 2 up armor, 4 up invul, no damage reduction. But they do reroll hits and wounds all the time. They have Marvin. I think the Paragons are just a unit you want to reserve because you don't want to commit them early. You want them coming in after you've already built up your Miracle Ice reserves when if you what you could do is you could like put that unit into reserves and you could just strategic reserves them, more rapid ingress them, come in, hit very hard. Meltas with rerolls to hit end wound are significantly better than without. They're also higher ballistic skill than Retributors, so you end up getting much more damage than Retributors would. And you can use Miracle Dice on defense here, where 4s and 5s don't always save on Sisters units that are just taking hits. But if people try to point anti-tank weapons at you, you basically on the turn that the Paragons are coming in, you flat advance the Triumph as directly forward. And you just get it near them and pop the aura, because you have 2 auras that you get to pick every battle round. You pick the aura of, I can use multiple acts of faith. And if someone points 6 las cannons at that Paragon unit, you just wave your hand, grab a bunch of dice, and say, I'm passing all of these. Like,
So they have to have overwhelming firepower.
They have to have overwhelming firepower. And that is, and yes, we are taking the grenade launchers on the Paragons as well, because grenade launchers are suddenly awesome.
Just called grenade launcher.
Yeah, they choose between having a Paragon grenade launcher or a Stormbolter on top, and one of those is Strength 9, AP 2 damage G3, and the other one is Strength 4, AP 0 damage 1. So
Stormbolter has had its day in the sun. It is dead.
Yeah, Stormbolters are cool, but no longer. I already reroll wounds. I don't need a twin-linked Stormbolter.
All right, how many points we got left here?
We have 115 points left, which is normally the point where I would tell you to put a Caldus Assassin in. But we're not doing that here. What I honestly think I want is we could just try to mech it up a little bit more and take like a Rhino, have 35 points, and take a second Death Cult Assassin unit. Or we could just take like a bunch of cheap squads.
Or are we cutting these Sacrosants?
Richard. Come on.
I would be the guy to just have the Palatine in the Rhino.
I mean, look, she fits, right? She only takes up one.
Exactly. She just charges out. She's a cheap resource.
Yeah, she just goes.
I don't need to spend 130 points on a body.
You just wait for someone to kill her, and then as soon as they kill her, you're like, psych, she stands up. Oop, I'm going to stand her up with 1 wound. JK, she's wounded. +2 damage. Like, she's going in at damage 4. Like, let's go!
That is really what I would do.
That is... Oh my god, I hate that. But, like, yeah, it works. So if we cut the Sacrosanct, we would have 245 points. Which is considerable.
Second Paragon unit.
I assure you that is not what we're doing with those points. I assure you, no. One of them rerolls hits and wounds, the other one doesn't.
Double Castigator.
That's actually what I was looking up. I was going to go double check the points cost of the Castigator to see how much effort it was going to take us. So if we added 2 Castigators, because good golly, we're going to do it.
What about the Banner Lady? The name character.
Astrid Thurga?
Yeah. Isn't she better now?
Oh, absolutely she's better. Yeah, she's definitely better. She is improved. However, counterpoint, improved is not really enough.
Now, I remember from the game that we played, you had Saint Celestine and a giant brick of Zephyrum. Mm-hmm. That is not in here. Do you feel...
That is true.
That was your, only counterpunch and damage?
Paragons.
So you think Paragon's 1-to-1?
Yeah, I think so. My problem with Zephyrum is that their melee profile is no longer scaling well in the game. I liked it. I like Celestine, and again, I would genuinely think that I would take solo Celestine or consider it just to have a random oops, here's a couple more mortals. Because she has dev wounds, you roll in, you drop a Miracle Ice or 2.
Yeah, you did
if you're near the Triumph, that was the whole shtick was But I realized I was paying it 10 Zephyrum of points to deliver Celestine. I had a game off camera with sisters where I got very dejected about Zephyrum output after I charged that unit into a Thundercav unit, killed one model, lost most of the unit back. And I was like, all right, maybe I'll learn my lesson here.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately that you don't quite get that. So you could go double Castigator in here. If you did that, I definitely would at that stage cut the cut that unit of whatever they're called, the Sacrosancts. I honestly think that Sacrosanct unit's getting the boot anyways.
All right, it's done.
It's gone. I hate to say it. If we cut that and because it's 150 each, so you could go to 300. So 300 points for 2. And then if you cut the Penitent Engine, you're at 1995 again.
Can we cut Death Cult Assassins for a second Crusader unit, and then we open up the points?
Then we have 20 points, which is enough to buy a third Crusader unit.
Yeah.
This is exactly where I was about to go with that.
Okay, so they're getting the boot for Crusaders.
Yep, let's get 2 more Crusader units in here. I like Death Cult Assassins a lot, but at the end of the day, 2 Crusaders is nearly the same points as the Death Cult Assassins.
And if they're being cheap.
If we're being a cheap unit, we're being a cheap unit.
Yep.
The one thing that I don't have in here that I want is the it's called the Demonifuge, which is 80 points for...
Yeah, somebody mentioned it in chat.
Yep. The Demonifuge is good. It's a lone op. Because we already have a Calidus in here, I don't think that this kind of list needs multiple lone ops. Although obviously lone ops are just always generically good.
It's 2 Castigators, right?
Yep, 2 Castigators.
150.
150.
All right.
I personally favor taking the Battle Cannon on the Castigator for the ignore cover.
Ignore's cover is critical.
That's the thing.
Cover
is
that just...
The Castigator, I can go on a rant about the Castigator. I really can. But it's you can choose to either take the autocannon or the battle cannon. The autocannon is great. It's 4 shots, rapid fire, 4 twin linked at 913, but doesn't ignore cover.
And then your opponent's
and it's as soon as it doesn't ignore cover, I'm just like ah. And the battle cannon is I think D6 plus 3 blast at 1013, doesn't ignore cover, isn't twin linked. So you get more wounds out of that autocannon, but strength 1013 still gets decent wounds through. And then you get reroll hits against vehicles, and ignore cover I think is just the breaking point.
If at some point in 10th edition we head back towards Hordes, then you can reconsider.
Yeah, but right now not ignoring cover just doesn't get anywhere fast enough for me.
Yeah, 100%. You basically just assume your opponent has cover.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure that is 1995.
All right.
Let me just...
let's check that Games Workshop app.
Yep, so I've got this as 19... Oh, hold on, I need to... I'm sorry, I think that's 2K on the dot, actually. Because we deleted the Death Company Assassins, and we added...
Death Company Assassins.
The Death Cult Assassins, and we're duplicating these Crusaders. All right, so this is what I've got in the app. Let me make sure this is what we got.
Yep.
2 Dialogus.
Done.
Morven Vol. Palatine with Blade of St. Eleanor.
Yep.
Triumph of St. Catherine. So those are our characters.
Yes.
10 Battle Sisters. 1 Rhino. 2 Castigators. 3 Crusader Squads. 2 Exorcists. 1 Paragon Warsuit,
Yep.
2 Retributor squads, 1 Seraphim squad, 1 Callous Assassin.
1 Seraphim squad, 1 Calidus Assassin, and you had the Penitent Engine?
No, the Penitent Engine is gone.
It's gone.
It had to get cut to 5th Castigators, unfortunately.
All right. Penitent Engine.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
that should be that. 2,000 points.
That is 2,000 points of Sisters. I really like the Paragons. I acknowledge the unit's not cheap, but at the end of the day, for what it is, it's only 375. And if you can ever get that unit into position, Miracle Dice to charge, that's going to hurt real bad.
It's the defense, too. If you can get the Triumph over there and you just get to use the Miracle Dice you need to keep them alive, it's a big deal.
Yeah, because now that they get cover, it is very difficult to shift that unit with just like weight of small arms fire. Because there are 2-up armor, 4-up invuln. If you kill one of them, it's not that big a deal. They'll just immediately get +1 to hit. What's annoying is that it's impossible for that unit to ever get +1 to wound. Hate that part of the Hall of Martyrs attachment.
Well, we got a couple super chats here. We've got Kaliju. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. John and Richard, the best competitive 40k players in the solar system.
Woo-hoo!
What about the galaxy? Okay, can we do the entire 40k galaxy?
Absolutely.
Can we do that?
I feel like that's appropriate.
The Astra Militarum would put us in.
We really appreciate your support.
Boom.
Thank you so much, Kaiju.
And then we've got another super chat from Kaiju. We got, how can you make an all Gravis army work with Dark Angels? I assume DA's Dark Angels.
Yep. So, Kaiju, I think you can definitely go Gravis heavy. I don't know about literal all Gravis, but like if you want to take a lot of Gravis, I think that can be very viable. One of the first things to note is that the Apothecary Biologus is awesome with an Aggressor squad. Eradicators are generically good. If I were trying to go Dark Angels and take a lot of Gravis, what I honestly would do is I would take a 6-man Bolter Aggressor squad with an Apothecary Biologus with Bolter Discipline. We actually did something similar in a video that's actually coming out soon. We did that with Salamanders in a build my list that's coming out next week. And I would put that in a Land Raider Redeemer. And yes, I acknowledge a Land Raider Redeemer is very not Gravis, but you know what? If you play Space Marines, you like Land Raiders. I will brook no disagreement. Every Space Marine player I've ever talked to has at least been warmed to the idea of if a Land Raider is worth taking, they're down to take it. And a Redeemer is the coolest one by a mile. So I would say that is where I'd start. Eradicators just kind of justify themselves. They don't really require support. I will unfortunately say that I think Gravis is going to work a lot better in a Gladius than in the Unforgiven detachment. Which is an unfortunate reality of how Space Marines function right now, is that Gladius is so good. But I think you could justify taking quite a few aggressors. I think aggressors are fantastic. The Lion giving an aura, feel no pain defense does really help with the, hey, I'm paying a lot of points for my wounds. So I probably could throw the Lion into a Gravis heavy list. Heavy Intercessors, by the way, are very annoying to shift point for point. I like several 5-mans of Heavy Intercessors. There are a lot of OC. They have very good anti-infantry firepower. They are not that expensive, and they just aren't very efficient to shoot. Because you really don't shoot anti-infantry at Gravis armor well. And then if you have the Lion, they're not going to take mortals very well. And then it's like, oh, I guess I'm pointing my Bright Lances at the Gravis armor. And the Space Marine player is just like, okay, no problem.
That's the first nice thing anybody said about Heavy Intercessors.
They are legitimately cheap. Like, I actually like Heavy Intercessors quite a bit currently. I think they're quite annoying because they get the same +1 to save against damage 1, which isn't cover, which means that they get a 2-up save. So if you shoot them with AP 1 while they're in cover, damage 1, they still get a 2-up save in cover. And then they're T6, so strength 3 wounds 1 6 is strength 4 and 5 wounds 1 5. And like that's the thing, they're like 105 points. I know that I looked at them and I was like, oh wow, this is actually cheap for the wounds. So I think you can do it with the Dark Angels.
Thanks so much for the super chat. Then we got Matt O with a $5 super chat. Sorry about that. Really missed melee in this edition though.
Matt O,
hey,
we love you.
I had the most melee in a Drukhari vs. Tau game. I had the strongest melee unit and it killed the most models in combat too.
Can't believe I missed that game. That's fantastic. I too miss melee in this edition, but I think if you just stack enough rerolls on that Paragon Warsuit unit, it actually does become a legitimate melee unit.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Palatine, who is just sitting in a Rhino by herself, ready to jump out.
Yep. She's just a trade piece in the Rhino.
Yeah. As soon as like the first Red Squad gets out, she gets in, and then she's just ready to go.
All right, so we've got moving on. So that's our sisters list. Hopefully, Squidlapod enjoys this one.
Yep.
Moving on to Miles Engrave with his Admech All Breachers Army.
Oh, buddy.
All right, so the key thing you need to know about this list is that Breachers have the best data sheet rule that Admech has, which is that they reroll ones to hit, or if they're within 6 of a battle line unit, which is Skitarii Vanguard or Rangers, you get full rerolls to hit.
That is a good rule to have on the data sheet.
And you can give them sustained hits, and they can pop off a lot. You can give them heavy or assault, so they can get either more mobile or more efficient. But they're the best shooting unit that you can bring in this army, at least the most consistent one by far. Now, they are expensive at 50 points per model for the Breacher variant, but they can actually do damage, and they're also one of the few units that has the anti-rule, and they're anti-vehicle 4+.
Ooh.
So
Are they also death wounds?
no.
Okay, just checking.
Admech didn't get that.
All right.
You can tell. If the army has a win rate that is basically below 50%, there's very few dev wounds. If they have it above, they either have free units or dev wounds. It's like...
Boy, Custodes is literally the only army I think that breaks that.
Probably, yeah. Well, they can get free models back per unit.
Fair enough.
All right, so Admech breachers are very strong. What I found is that their defense is still pretty mediocre against shooting armies, and are they really worth 50 points per model? In the Admech index, probably, but they're very expensive, and you start having no army around them, which is the exact problem that this list has, is that you basically have no units. So we're going to fix that. These destroyers are actually 240. These are the destroyer variant, so they have a bunch of plasma shots.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they don't have the rerolls rule, and their only way to get rerolls is through Mr. Belisarius' call. However,
Hey, I see the boy.
we are right now spending 185 points to give one unit effectively, because the rest of them either auto-hit with the Taraxi or have inbuilt rerolls.
And I assume you aren't rating the damage of those Vanguard.
No, I am not. They do no damage.
That is a darn pity.
It's because they went to minus. They lost a ballistic skill, so they're ballistic skill 4+, and then the heavy weapons are BS5. So if we're trying to rely on these bad boys, we're not doing much.
Man, I miss my heavy weapons having a better ballistic skill.
Yeah, well, they thought heavy. For some reason, the designers think that people want to stand stationary in 40k, and it's mobility is king. You got to be moving every turn. You can't be staying stationary. So heavy is a bonus for tanks that's in the backfield. All right. So now that I've kind of broken down in a synopsis like what this list is trying to do and some of its inefficiencies, we've got to start working on cutting some points here. John, if you could be my app man.
I would love to be your servitor.
Okay, if we're building around Breachers, we do not need Call. He is getting deleted. He's 185 points to help the units that we don't really need.
Should I just plug in like the full Breachers right now?
Plug in 2 6-man units.
All right, so minimum 2. I'm okay with that. Boop, boop.
These destroyers don't do anything and are terrible.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Plasma destroyers are absolutely terrible. They are cheaper per wound. They're only 40 points, but man, for what you get for 40 points, they are horrible.
Do Breachers and destroyers have the same defense now?
Nope.
Okay, so is it still a save difference?
I believe they're both 3-up save now, but Cataphrons have T7 instead of T6. But the main
Breachers.
Breachers, yeah.
Okay, so destroyers are T6, Breachers are T7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, not the crucial breakpoint, but really what matters there is that destroyers are not efficient whatsoever. And for 40 points per model, I want something that's either very durable, and my opponent is like, I don't really want to shoot my anti-tank at that, kind of like how you had with Sisters.
Yep.
I don't really, or with those Gravis bodies, I don't really want to put anti-tank into this because there's other targets. So we need to do some sort of threat overload with Admech. Okay. The battle line units are terrible, and they do basically nothing.
Only leaving one?
We're going to leave one. And we're going to switch it from Vanguard to Rangers.
Okay.
I know they're more expensive, and you're going to be shocked at how expensive 10 Rangers is. 125 points. But they have a rule that synergizes with what we want. So these have some longer range guns. We're not really trying to get super close with the Breachers. They have a melee profile, but they're going to get evaporated in melee by anything decent. And the closer they get, the more guns that are in range of killing them. So we don't really want to get too close immediately.
What is the rule you mentioned for Rangers?
Rangers is sticky objectives.
That is good.
That is a very good rule. So what you ideally do is you start them in a vehicle that we want to add here, which is a transport, Scorpius Dune Rider.
Done.
It's 80 points. It's a bunch of anti-infantry shots, but you can advance and disembark from it, and it helps protect you from indirect fire.
Okay. So got a Scorpius Dune Rider, 80 points.
It is 80 points.
Nice.
And we're going to put that over here. So I like running at least one transport. There is a build where you run a bunch of transports and you can send your Vanguard up and contest objectives. It's just so many points. You saw there are 300 points in dudes who do nothing. If you could take 5 mans, it'd be great, but you cannot. So we can't afford. And then sterilizers. I like having one unit that has native deep strike to get into my opponent's backfield, but your opponent is going to be able to screen enough of these. We cannot run 3 of them. I'm sorry.
Man. Harsh. All right.
I gotta be harsh. We cannot run 3 sterilizer
What is
units.
the rule that sterilizers have?
On a 4-up, one target that they hit, -2 to move, advance, and charge. But only on a 4-up. Unless you're near a battle line.
Minus what?
-2, it's the Night Spitter rule. -2 to...
but it's a 4+. And what is it if there's a battle line nearby?
Then it goes off on a 2-up.
Okay, so that's quite good if you have a battle line
If
nearby.
you have a 100-point unit minimum near them.
Interesting. I still like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I
know. I like having one unit.
I kind of like a second. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna show you why you don't want that.
I imagine by the end of this, all the secrets of the universe will be revealed to me.
We need points for other things because this army needs tools.
All right. Oh, is that Manipulus about to go?
No. Well, he's gonna be changed into something else. So we have Master Annihilator is exploding 6s, and this unit really wants a Dominus, in my opinion. So the Dominus gives them 5-up Pain, which helps with their breakpoint against anti-tank weapons.
What does the Manipulus do for them, just to kind of compare?
Manipulus is once per game 4-up invul.
That is good.
Instead of a 6-up invul. So
Okay,
obviously
that is an improvement.
That is an improvement. And on top of that, the Manipulus, you want one Manipulus to take the Omni Sterilizer upgrade.
Yes, because that makes his transonic cannon get really annoying.
Which we'll talk about. He's there. He's going to be fine. The other rule you get from a Manipulus is lethal hits.
Not bad, especially on a unit that rerolls
Which is
hits.
definitely solid.
It's generically useful.
Realistically, you're not getting 2 of them close, and so I want one Dominus who has a longer range weapon, and he's going to sit back with Master Annihilator, and he's probably going to be the second unit. Ideally, I get rid of enough of their anti-tank that this unit can kind of dominate the center.
Got it. So one of these units gets a 5-up Feel No Pain from the Dominus, and that's passive all the time. That's not once a game.
Yep.
The other unit gets a 4-up Invul once per game and lethal hits.
Yes.
Does the Dominus help the output at all, beyond the fact that he might carry some weapons of his own?
He's just a caddy for Master Annihilator, which you could put on the Manipulus.
Okay, so Master Annihilator is the enhancement we want here, and then just a character to give them a 5-up Feel No Pain.
I'm the type of guy to really value the 5-up Feel No Pain.
I appreciate why you would do that.
Really, because there are 3 wounds per model. T7, you really, when you have a 5 Feel No Pain on them, they require the anti-tank.
Yes.
And we're going to put a lot of tanks in this list.
It's also the fun part where sometimes you can blank a little anti-tank, like a Bright Lance rolls a 1 or a 2 on the damage, and instead of just pulling your guy, you're like,
yeah,
take another one.
Or do you want to spend a CP on this instead of Phantasm or some crazy rule?
Yeah.
So we got the Vulcanite and the Phosphor Serpenta.
And dare I ask what Master Annihilator does?
That is sustained hits.
For him or just...
The unit.
Oh, the unit. Oh, okay. Perfect.
We're popping
All right,
off.
we're good.
So he gets full rerolls hit. Now, there is a consideration to put the Omni Sterilizer on him. And you might be saying, why? He doesn't have a Flamer. Well, it's because he still gets Anti-Infantry 2+, Anti-Monster 4+. The Vulcanite weapon goes from 3 shots to 6 shots, and it's Dev Wounds, 2 damage. So it's...
Well, that is quite good.
And it's 24-inch range instead of 12. Doesn't auto-hit, but it gets full rerolls to hit with the Breacher unit inside there. And then the Phosphor Serpenta, it goes from 1 shot to 4 shots, Strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage, ignores cover, Anti-Infantry 2+. So there is a consideration. I think you want both of these upgrades. We're going to put it on the Manipulus just because the Flamer means your Overwatch is also insane.
I like that a lot.
And it is a very cool tool.
All right. And is 110 the points cost for that Dominus?
Yes, he goes up to 110 because he's 75 base, 35 for this upgrade.
Sounds
this
good.
Enhancement.
All right, so we've got the 2 main staple characters, who are the ones that we are intending to each attach to a 6-strong Breacher Brick.
Yes, sir.
Techno-Archaeologist, is he still a 12-inch no-go zone?
He is still a 12-inch no-go zone, and then on top of that, if he's leading unit, they get +1 OC.
Okay, so a Skitarii Ranger unit is OC 3 and gets a 12-inch no-go zone stapled on.
Exactly.
45 points, that feels quite valuable.
It does.
Okay.
Now, the other consideration is if we didn't want to bring him, we could bring Draxus and make them unshootable. So that indirect fire doesn't just finish off the unit and you can just sit back there with your breachers. That is definitely a consideration. So if your meta doesn't have a ton of GSC players, you don't need the Techno-Archaeologist as much. You can instead grab Draxus and sit her inside the Rangers because they're battle line.
And let me guess, Cataphrons are no longer troops slash battle line?
They're not battle line. There's
battle line?
only Rangers and Vanguard are battle
Rangers
line.
and Vanguard, okay.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have to take this. They would get
Fair
their own
enough.
aura.
I knew the answer. I just had to ask because I remember them being troops. So I just had
All
to
right.
ask.
So, what else do we want to add in here? What I have found as the most efficient points per wound unit in this book is Iron Striders. Okay?
Oh, chickens are back.
They are back and in force. And I think they are the one thing that can help take pressure off of these guys effectively. There's Onagers, which can do it, but let's grab Iron Strider Ballistari.
Man, Iron Striders are 25 points cheaper than Dragoons.
Don't ask.
This
is a don't ask,
I'm not
don't
gonna,
tell policy with Games Workshop. They will.
I'm going to be honest, Richard. When you said like Ballistari, I'm like, why don't we just take the Dragoons? They've got to be cheaper, surely.
Surely. Surely you would think.
All right, got me there.
And to be clear, AdMech is an index in which there are no melee buffs, besides -1 to wound in combat, except you can't use it on vehicles.
I still want Dragoons. They're so cool. Dragoons and Sicarans are probably my favorite AdMech models. Dragoons are just so cool.
Okay, these are 50 points per model.
That's not bad. And
You get a T7 body now. They got +1 toughness, and they're 7 wounds instead of 6 wounds.
okay.
They still have
comparable to Sentinel.
They kept the enhanced bionics for 5-up invul, and you can if you're in Protector Protocol, you can spend a CP to give them a 4-up invul.
Okay.
So they're actually pretty darn tanky. Now they're only one shot, but they're twin linked. Strain 12, AP3, D6 +1, and
One shot, twin linked.
Sustained hits.
Sustained hits.
So 6 is really, really good.
Really spike there. No inherent rerolls.
No inherent rerolls. You have to bring
3 still?
Nope.
4.
4, but you can access heavy or assault if you need to.
Okay. And we think that's better than the autocannons.
It's okay. So you remember the last profile of autocannons?
I do. They were stupid and they didn't deserve that.
They were 6 shots, right?
Yep.
Guess how many they are now?
2.
2.
Yeah, as they should be, like every other autocannon in the game. We're just not seeing a problem here.
The autocannon is terrible.
Well, it's 2 shots each.
Yes.
What other rules does it have?
It's still sustained hits, and then it's
Twin linked.
twin link, but AP 1.
Strength damage.
Doesn't ignore cover, 2 damage.
2?
2.
Not 3?
No.
100% sure it's not 3.
Go ahead and look it up.
If it's alright, if it was damage 3, I would actually be having another conversation.
I'm pretty sure it's
with you
damage 2.
If it's damage 2, I'll concede. On the spot. Hold on, let me just. Because all the other, I'm asking because all the other autocannons. Damage 3, 913. Get out of here.
Did switch.
Get out of here. You're the servitor now.
It's still bad.
It's still not great, but
The last cannon is better. AP3 is a big deal instead of AP1. Because you can't ignore cover with this stuff.
Shoot, charge, even when they fall back.
So you're going to see their data sheet rule. What their purpose is jamming up your opponent's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is you can advance and charge them for 1 CP.
Not bad.
If you're in Conqueror. And then it's a ton of wounds. And the thing about the 4-up invuln stratagem, if you're in Protector, is that it lasts until the end of the turn. So you pop it in your opponent's shooting phase, and then it lasts until the end of the turn.
Oh, that's cool.
So if they shoot into them, you're 4-up invuln in Protector, and then all of a sudden, I also have that in combat.
That is quite cute.
And then they can fall back, shoot, and charge.
Okay.
So you can keep being annoying. So I like running 3 of these. I just spam these bodies out.
Yeah.
They're very cheap, 50 points for what you get. They're not efficient whatsoever, but they will add up on damage. Okay, what are we looking at points-wise?
All right, so I'll freely admit I have not been keeping up, so give me a second here.
All right.
Let me see what we got. So we've got characters. We need a Dominus and a Manipulus. So boop and Manipulus. And then we need a Techno-Archaeologist.
AdMech are guaranteed to hammer your wallet.
Yeah, that's
Iron Striders are not cheap.
All right, so the Dominus has an enhancement called...
Just be lucky Dragoons aren't cheaper, because then we would spam 9 Dragoons.
He has Master Annihilator?
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, well, AdMech only has 3 enhancements?
No, they have 4, but one only
one
can
of
go
them.
on a Marshal.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Omni Sterilizer on the other guy. Cool. And Archaeologist does not enhancement. All right, we do have that 1 Blessed Ranger unit. We have the 1 Scorpius. These, we apparently have amateur numbers of Ballistarii. Let's take it up to 9.
9.
Love that. 2 units of 6 Cataphron Breachers, 1 unit of Traxxas Sterilizers.
Okay, so there was a 3-man unit of Breachers. They're getting deleted because 3 is not enough. Either we're going for the full the full complement, which is very pricey, and I don't think you really want to have that few amount of units. 2 is enough. 2 is redundant, so you can trade 1, or they can come out and start shooting your Ballistarii, and then you commit your Breachers. We need enough redundancy here that we have reliable anti-tank. And this is pretty reliable anti-tank. This is a lot.
We are at 1565, so we have 435 left.
Okay, 435. So we got a decent amount of points. First thing we have to decide is, do we want our techno-archaeologist to just join the Rangers, or do we want him kind of on the flanks? And
what do Vanguard bring / do? What are their rules? Do they
minus
bring
1
anything?
OC if your opponent's within 3 of them.
Because honestly, looking at this, I really want 1 more battle line unit. And I acknowledge it's hard to get another battle line unit in here because they're not particularly cheap. And just to be clear, I already know the answer. Is there any transport that lets you split a Skitarii battle line unit?
No, if it was, it would be in this list.
So the Archaeopter doesn't do that anymore?
No.
Okay. It sounded like something that could, so I had to
Now
ask.
it has a normal transport capacity.
Oh, it just holds 12?
Skitarii.
Yeah, of course, Skitarii.
So, the thing about running another Vanguard squad is we would need another Dune Rider. Most likely.
Yep.
And then we're looking at 180 point minimum output.
Which is not inconsiderable.
I think you actually just try and charge vehicles onto objectives and get angles and try and kill people.
So, like, I honestly, I don't mind the Dune Rider for, like, 80 points isn't that expensive.
No, it's solid. But let's go ahead and add a different tank here.
Yeah, plus then, like, the Vanguard can shoot out of the Dune Rider at least, so.
No.
Got 'em.
They cannot. They cannot. So, the Onager is something that I've been enjoying.
Okay. Sell me on the Onager here.
So, it's 140 points. And what we're going to take is a lottery machine gun called the Eradication Beamer.
Oh, this is one of those slot machines?
It is
I do love a
complete
good old
blast weapon slot machine, but it can pop off. And we have to use this is another tool we need to use aggressively to get angles, to get onto objectives, and to jam people up. And it's the most defensive of the tanks. Has a 2-up save. It's T11 or T10. I think it's T10 11 wounds.
T10 11 wounds, 2-up armor. That is not...
4-up invuln as well.
Oh,
so you
that's
don't
cool.
have to buff it.
Okay.
And it's just a pain to deal with.
We said Eradication Beamer?
Yep.
All right. Oh, there's a focus profile. All right, so let me tell people what this is. It has a focused and a dissipated profile. The focus profile is 18-inch range, so when you get it, it's good. D6 shots blast, sustained hits D3, ballistic skill 4, 933.
It's a lot of 933 if you roll the number of shots or any 6s to hit.
Yeah. The dissipated version is 922, but 36-inch range. And same everything else. So there's no downside to using the focus beam once you're close up.
Exactly.
So there's no downside. There's no hazardous. There's no less shots. It's just it gets +1 strength and AP at half range basically.
This thing can blow up elite infantry at rapid speed if you're able to do good damage. Mm-hmm. So generally what you want to do is advance it up in the first turn. Be prepared to move at an angle the next turn to see into like a midfield ruin. And at that point, you can just sit at an angle and just put heavy on if you need it.
Okay.
Right. So we'll add one of these in here. We need some cheap stuff to play the mission before we try and finish out this.
So there's no agents in this list. Are you trying to keep this pure, or are you...
Nope, it's AdMech. We got to get some agents.
Fair enough. All right.
We need some tools to play the mission.
You're getting into my expertise.
So you can run servitors, except the AdMech servitors are the worst servitors in the galaxy.
How much do they cost?
They cost the same... well, I think they cost 50, like the Grey Knight ones, but not 55. If you want to actually check...
But let me guess, they are like worse ballistic skill?
Check what their ballistic skill is.
It's 6+. Tell me it's 6+. Is it 6+?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is? Heck yeah.
So Exaction Squad,
They are 50. They're cheaper than Space Marine ones.
but they're same as the Grey Knight ones.
Yeah, the Grey Knights do have the best servitors in the game. Everyone knows that.
They really do.
They're well known for it. The Titan servitor factories are
The servitors
mint.
of Deimos.
It's because they're mind wiping everyone who sees them.
All right, you have the usual, the 5 of pain and all the
Just
regular
everything
guns.
good. It takes 5 years to type out everything Exaction Squad has for some reason.
It has every rule.
Alright, so let's delete this poor servitor squad that I brought up just for an example, and let's add exactions.
All right, and so you would think, hey, AdMech have these Tauraxi guys with wings. They probably have the rule that most books have where they can go back into reserve at the end of your opponent's turn.
Dare I ask if the other tracks you have that?
They do not. They do not, in fact. So
What does the other
AdMech
tracks do? Just like
the other Tauraxi is they either make a move of up to 6 inches after they shoot, and you'd be shocked at how ineffective their guns are. Or if they're within 6 of a battle line unit, wholly within 6, they can move their full distance, a normal move.
That's
12
kind of
inch.
cool. They just really like being their battle line.
They really love being.
It's so weird how like every army has their like their mechanic that they do the thing. Like Tyranids do X or Y if in Synapse. Genestealer Cult do X or Y if they're battle line, which is wild. And then yours is be near a battle line.
Be near a
Which, like,
minimum 100-point unit.
Objectively, that's better than Genestealer Cult. Because Genestealer Cult have to be the battle line, and your battle line are already near battle line.
My battle line don't come back for free.
Other than that,
If they did, AdMech still wouldn't have a 50% win rate.
I think you would take.
They don't do anything,
I think
John.
you would take them. I didn't say that 50%.
I would.
All right. We're at 1775 after plugging in 2 exaction squads and an onager, singular onager.
Okay.
Which is actually a decent amount of points left.
Yep. So we need the Calidus because that's the only thing AdMech can access.
That can up down.
Can go up and down, and you really need that for late
The
game
up down
scoring.
is real good.
It is pretty crucial to scoring against certain armies. Most armies can screen the first 3 turns, no problem. But when you're like, can you screen turns 4 and 5? They start to run out of stuff to do it.
So we have 110 points left. And I don't know if you already kind of have an idea of what's going there, or if you're willing to hear a bit of a silly pitch.
Let's pitch. Let's see this pitch.
Okay, so I'm looking at this list. We have a bunch of Iron Striders and, the Cataphrons, and then we've got the one Onager. And that all feels like that's trying to push upfield at a certain pace, but none of that goes through walls at speed. I assume the Cataphrons are infantry now, but aren't fast, and I assume that Iron Striders and Onagers don't go through walls, but are faster than a Cataphron.
Yes.
Honestly, I bet an Onager's actually pretty slow.
That's correct. No, the Onager actually moves 8
Does it move
inches.
8 now? Okay, that's an upgrade. What I'm curious
Remember,
about here...
you can advance and charge them.
that is nice. That Onager, yeah, let's advance and charge him.
No, the Iron Strider.
I know exactly who it is. The Skitarii Rangers don't want to push up aggressively because they have to be alive for your Cataphrons to function. So they're trying to sit back in the in that transport until it's time for you to go like full speed, and then they probably try to hide behind a wall kind of near them.
Yep.
I kind of want an Eversar Assassin because an Eversar Assassin is a second lone op that has Scout, and I believe Scout 9, and skirmishes very respectably with other cheap things that go onto objectives.
Yep.
And he's also not that expensive. He's 75, which would leave you...
I can also overwatch his pistol for free first and then do the Manipulus.
I think it's the opposite way.
Is it the opposite way?
I think he does his for free even if someone else has.
Even if someone else, okay.
But I think you would want to start with the other guy.
I would definitely start with the Manipulus.
Like,
then I would shoot his 4 pistol shots.
We don't have to take an Eversar here, but I don't see anything that wants to turn 1, go zip up behind a wall onto an objective in no man's land.
Nothing wants to zip up with AdMech.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I want to, though. I want to do that.
So, in terms of infiltrating units, you have Infiltrators, which is 80 points for 5 dudes who are okay.
Functional. Yeah.
They have sustained hits and a bunch of taser goat attacks.
Look, I always like more lone ops, like if you have an opportunity.
A lone op means, you can't really be killed too easily. Evisor can't go back into reserve.
True. Can infiltrators do that? No one can in AdMech.
No one can in
All right, cool.
The infiltrator rule is that if your opponent is within 6, it is -1 to their leadership and battle shock tests.
Fun.
Or if they're within 6 of a battle line unit, it's -2 to those tests. So if you bring them plus the Calexis Assassin, we can start getting a little crazy on those battle shocks, John.
I love it. Battle round 1, those battle shocks.
Yeah, well, and then when the Calexis pops hers, and then we have the infiltrators nearby with a ranger unit.
Yeah, so if we were to take an Eversor and a Calidus, because I'm not implying that we drop the Calidus, to be clear. The Calidus is staying.
Yeah.
It's a question of, do we want a second, character, which is not disinteresting to me.
No, I think lone ops are fantastic.
An Eversor leaves 35, which is unfortunately the same cost as an Exaction squad, which we've already tapped out on.
We have tapped out on the Exaction squads. Eversor's the cheapest one?
Eversor is the cheapest assassin.
Is the cheapest assassin. We could cut the Rangers down to Vanguard and just accept that we're not sticking objectives. That is realistic.
With 2 lone ops, that also feels a little safer.
Yep.
That would give us 25 points, which would give us a total of 60 points to spend. I do not know if there is an AdMech unit you want for 60 points.
We could just throw it. Honestly, I would just throw in another Techno-Archaeologist to screen and start in reserve if I need them to and do actions.
Fair enough, yeah.
That is
I'm
probably
down for that.
Honestly, I found that when you add them to the squads, it's just, why am I screening with this? Just if they have indirect fire, they start in reserve and do actions. So let's grab another Techno-Archaeologist.
Totally down for that.
And then we're going to downgrade these bad boys
to Vanguard.
Vanguard, and that's 100 points.
Hate to see it.
Okay, and then we're going to get the lovely Eversor Assassin.
I like lone ops, and I honestly, the Eversor did not merit much discussion. A lot of people have talked about the Vindicare, but I like the Eversor's ability to like move around quickly because, again,
this is
just
not an army that
scouts.
moves around quickly.
Yeah, that's the thing I was looking at. I don't know much about AdMech, not as much as high tech priest Siegler over here, Avatar of Dominus himself, but I do know what I want in a list, and I want Scout 9.
Oh, it's very good on a lone op. So
yeah, because he either gets to advance in charge, or get precision, or get sus 3, which sustains 3 is funny, and then he can fire Overwatch for 0 CP even if you've already used the stratagem. And funny enough, if you have sustained hits 3 and you start firing Overwatch, it's just weird. It's like, I don't know, does the Executioner pistol do no damage? Does it get 8 hits? I don't know, man. You want to find out?
I am going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm the guy to do it.
Eversor!
All right. So people are asking, why are there no knights in here? Trying not to make it a AdMech list that has,
minimal
1,500 points of AdMech or even less because are Imperial agents. So I'm trying to still make it AdMech core, but yes, you can absolutely trade out the Onager and some of the other stuff here and just grab probably a Breacher squad, honestly, and an Onager and just get 3 baby knights and just have more stuff. AdMech is a stuff army. They're trying to threat overload you with tons of stress your anti-tank.
Yeah.
Because there are a whole bunch of armies in the game that struggle against tanks in general. And when you throw this many tank bodies out there with invulns and protector plus cover, all of a sudden you have an army left.
Do you think you'd be willing to play the Porphyrion against Nick?
Porphyrion against Nick?
In your AdMech army, of course.
What does it do again? It just is
It's
like
2d6 shots at strength, yes, AP, no, d6 plus 6 damage.
How many points is it?
It's like 700 something.
I mean, for 7, think about it.
It's T13, 30 wounds. It's like, it's thick.
Just think about it. If you trade the 2 Breacher squads and the troop squad, you just get that. Does it shoot harder than 2 Breacher squads? It might.
Definitely shoots longer range.
Yep.
I like it. All right, so we've got the AdMech.
All right, moving on. So that's going to be the Adeptus Mechanicus. Miles, let me know what you think of the list, and hope you enjoy playing this one. Like, this is something I would genuinely play on stream.
All right, we've got one more list. And you know what? What better to represent the Imperium than all of its lovely citizens pressed into service with lasguns?
Astra Militarum. So this is for Lynn Krieger, or Krieger.
Krieger? It's got to be Krieger.
Krieger.
I mean, it's got
the Krieg.
Right? Krieg. All right, so let's read what we got in this list. Lord Solar Leontis, staying. Ursula Creed, love that. Oh, you know what?
Let's do these. Yeah, let's do these couple super chats before.
Appreciate it.
Kaiju, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. John Richard, best 40k players in the galaxy, updated. Thank you so much. We need that kind of adulation.
Absolutely, we need the hype.
And
how we build a cult of the Emperor. Yep, cult of the
Emperor.
And the
Omnissiah.
Yep, with 2 arms only.
I got an Executioner for transport/attack, so would you recommend a Crusader over it? I got a Biologist, so sounds like I could use a second one.
So it has to be a Repulsor Executioner. Repulsor Executioner is quite good. However, I am personally very willing to do a Redeemer, Land Raider Redeemer, not Crusader, over it. You could do both, because transport capacity is generically useful, but I think I like a Redeemer best as my Gravis Armor Transport. And one Biologist I think is the right number. I think one Biologist is amazing. It carries the Bolter Discipline and joins the aggressors. The second one is merely nice. Wouldn't call it mandatory.
And then we got a $5 super chat here from Andrew Middlemouse. Thank you so much. Late to the stream, but curious on the Hospitaller and Sacrosanct for midboard annoyance. Harder to remove than most people think.
So the Hospitaller gives 5-up Feel No Pain. What scares me about that combo the most is that the Hospitaller precludes any other characters from joining that unit, and then the Sacrosancts are no longer -1 to wound. And once you are just T3 with a 3-up armor save, I am a little nervous that a 5-up Feel No Pain doesn't save you because the Hospitaller no longer resurrects any models.
If she did, then I think she.
If she still healed a model in the command phase and gave a 5-up Feel No Pain, I'd do it. If she healed D3 models, no Feel No Pain, I'd do it. But not healing anything, only a 5-up Feel No Pain on 1 wound models, I'm just a little nervous about that for 1 wound models. I think the Hospitaller is not the problem with the equation. It's that taking Sacrosancts without -1 to wound is not super appealing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because keeping them alive doesn't do much. They're not dealing much damage. They're not an incredibly impressive roadblock because they're only 1 damage. They can tie up 1 damage models in combat. I guess.
Think about them being Lich Guard, but worse in every single way.
Okay,
besides damage.
You don't have to say that. Also, they're not worse in every way. The models are way better. Stupid Xenos. This isn't a Xenos week. This is Imperium week. All right, let's go ahead and get into this Astra Militarum list. So we've got Lord Solar, Ursula Creed. 2 platoon command squads, neither of them have an enhancement. 10 Cadian shock troops, 20 Kriegers, 20 infantry. 3 units of 3 scout sentinels. God, I love that part. 2 heavy weapons with 2 las cannon, 1 mortars each. 2 hellhounds with hunter killer missiles. Everything has a hunter killer missile. 2 hellhounds, 3 manticores, 2 chimeras. I guess that second chimera is packing the heavy weapon teams. I'm not opposed to that, actually. All right, 1990 in this Astra Militarum combined regiment. So let's start off by looking at things that I love that Astra Militarum do. They do indirect pretty darn good. Manticores are staying in the list. I'm never removing a Manticore. If they start with 3 Manticores in the list, that's what they're keeping. Scout Sentinels spot for Manticores and can come back to life. I love that. I'm assuming, by the way, when I fix this list, that Ursula Creed's free stratagem does not apply to the Resurrect. Because you spend the stratagem after the unit's destroyed, which means they're no longer within 12 of Creed because you've already pulled the last model. They can still be targeted by the strat because the stratagem has a very specific clause in it, otherwise you wouldn't be able to. But I think it does get around Ursula's free strat. So, 20 Death Corps, love that. 20 infantry, 10 Cadian shock troops, 2 platoon command squads.
What is the list missing? What are the weaknesses here that we need to potentially show?
So, I think we have too many infantry. What I'm looking at is that 20-man infantry units and scout sentinels are all units that are kind of annoying to kill, kind of clog up the middle and score primary, and they come back when they die. We have too many units that are trying to come back when they die because we just can't fund it all. Since it's 2 CP each time that you do that, and you don't get to do it for free. So I feel like the Scout Sentinels and the infantry are too much of an investment. I, to my great regret, think that the 20 bricks of infantry just don't justify 130 points. I think the changes to Blast means they die a little bit too quick.
What's their defense now?
A Guardsman?
Yeah.
T3, 5-up armor.
Still 5-up armor?
It's a Guardsman.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the Krieg guys.
Oh, exactly that.
Okay.
The thing that they're tougher at is that they heal D3 models in the command phase if they have the free war gear option.
Can you stack any extra defense on this?
You can. There are 2 ways to do it, and I've tried them. Neither of them are in this list. The Death Corps Marshal gives his Death Corps unit 5-up Feel No Pain. That's cool. The Primaris Psyker on a 2+, just a 2+, gives it 4 pinful thing that's ranged. So at that point, you do get a unit that's pretty cool. Here's the trick. So I'm not opposed to that. I could do that 20-man Death Corps with a bunch of the defensive buffs. That could stay in. That 20-man infantry, that is gone 100% of the time.
Deleted.
That platoon command squad, one of them is getting booted immediately. Let me tell you the cool thing about the platoon command squad. They attach to a unit, like a leader, and they just bring extra dudes with them. None of those matter. Nothing the platoon command squad does matters. But there's a Voxcaster in the unit. I think the meta pack gives the unit like a 6-up feel no pain. Whatever. The platoon command squad comes with a Voxcaster. It's included in there. Buddy pack, standard, Voxcaster. Yeah, cut that mortar to make that fit. Yeah, so sorry, mortar. You're out. What the Voxcaster does is officers in this unit can order at 24 inches instead of 6. And that's really cool because then like the random idiot in the platoon command squad tosses an order downfield. No one cares. Attach Lord Solar to that unit. Now Lord Solar orders tanks 24 inches away. That's what we want. So Lord Solar and a platoon command squad in a Acadian shock troop unit, I'm 100% down for that. But honestly, Acadian shock troops, I want that to be a Death Corps squad. Just to heal D3 models for chip. I don't care about anything else. That unit is just living behind a wall.
Okay, so this is Death
Corps of Krieg. They will have War Year.
Is I before E?
Yep, I before E.
Okay, and how many
Except
points?
after Heresy. 65.
There's still
Yeah, all the infantry are 65. Okay. All right.
So platoon command goes inside, and then the Lord Solar goes in this?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and that, it's a little bit expensive, but honestly, that package is about 260, and it's not that expensive, and it gets you all your orders. It lives in the backfield, holds down an objective, screens out your back, and it doesn't die casually if you push it up late game when your opponent no longer has millions of blast weapons floating around.
Yeah.
It's just dudes. 120 Brick of Death Corps. If we keep that, we are spending 120 points of characters is the problem.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I don't think it's worth it.
Probably not.
I hate that.
We're spending almost the same amount in character support that we are in the unit.
And some of you may look at this and say, hold on, John, what is Ursula Creedy going to join? No one. She's 55 points.
She's going to be like the Palatine.
She's 55 points, man.
She's going to be like my techno-archaeologist and your Palatine.
Yep, like, it's just not going to happen. All right, 3 units of 3 Scout Sentinels. I absolutely adore these. They are staying in. I think they're fantastic. Yeah, just las cannons, hunter killer missiles, chainsaws. I'm about it. They're not going anywhere. Let me actually start putting this in the list because that's important.
So all 3 of them?
All 3 of them, absolutely. They are priced to move. Just they're a points cost I'm just willing to pay. One quick thing though is that I'm very likely going to come back and add an enhancement to that platoon command squad. Honestly, I would say that it's so likely that you can add it in right now.
Which one?
Kurov's Aquila.
Into the command
into that platoon command squad, and that is once again vect. It's 40 points, but that's just something I really want to have.
All right.
So let's add that enhancement.
Kurov's Aquila still exists.
Oh, it absolutely does.
I don't know how to make it italicized, but whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine.
We know exactly what it is. All right, and then we just have one little Greek squad. God bless them. Okay. The three heavy weapons, I personally feel aren't doing enough for me. Now, I wish Lynn Krieger was in chat. So Lynn Krieger, if you're in chat, please let us know immediately. There is a problem with guard. That isn't a real problem, but it's just like it's one of those like practical problems, not a list building problem, where a lot of the best things to take are forge rolled, and that can be prohibitive to access. So, for example, what I would like to add to this list is 3 Earthshaker batteries, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe some Medusa batteries, but those are hard to acquire. And the fact that they weren't in this list initially, because I consider them a little bit of an auto take. The fact that they weren't in this list initially makes me wonder if Lynn Krieger perhaps doesn't have access to them. So actually, while I say that out loud, I realize that I normally have Jack do this. Unfortunately, he teleported away for today. He'll be back soon, don't worry. I'm going to just fix my list. Yeah, we got within 9 inches of him and he just disappeared.
Jack's at the mech shop. The big mech shop.
Absolutely. I'm just going to look up and see if
While you're
Lynn Krieger has posted anything.
I'm going to go ahead and answer these super chats, and then we'll dive back in here. So we got Archon Silax. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Hope you enjoyed the Jakari game yesterday. How to deal with indirect that is screened perfectly. So depends on how much indirect, frankly, it is. So I was playing indirect fire this past weekend with Desolator Squad, tons of screens. And there was a guard list that we played against Mark Perry's team. Mm-hmm. Andrew Whitaker was playing this army, and it had tons of indirect, including the Forge World units that John's mentioning, and he screened it so perfectly with so many trash units and just layers and layers of screen that he kept it super close against Nick. I think it was like 11-9, 12-8, something like that, just slightly in Nick's favor with GSC versus Guard. So the fact is that you screen perfectly, there's very little that opponents can potentially do if they don't have indirect fire themselves to fight that battle. So what you have to do is be very clever with how you move up the table and try and dominate primary. Get rid of as many of their screens in the early game, maybe even just focus down a flank where they're not going to be able to replace screens and try and get an angle, or just make sure that you kill their screens as quick as possible so that you can then make charge plays and start tagging up indirect fire. But it's not easy. If they screen perfectly, you're going to be able to keep the game close, and that's what Andrew did against Nick to amazing effect.
Absolutely. So I have comments from Lynn Krieger. Lynn Krieger did not mention any specific model limitations, so real quick what Lynn had to say is love the show, longtime member and listener. Thank you so much, Lynn. You guys do a great job keeping us up to date and entertained on long card jerseys. Love that. Please have a pass over my guard list. Sentinels are a cheap replacing anti-tank, as well as having their ability. Korean Lord Solar Mark II units using the mortars from the platoon squad with overlapping. And then the heavy weapons on the Hellhounds are used to strip cover at longer range. So, I love the Hellhounds. They are going to be staying. Spoiler alert on that. One thing I'm going to add here is that I think that those heavy weapons and then the mortar in the platoon command squad, they do the job of overlapping fields of force. And what that means is guard of a stratagem to hit a unit with a gun and say, surprise, my army's +1 AP against you now. And that's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's 2 CP, so it's a little pricey. You can do that once and spend it. Lord Solar gives you +1 CP every turn, so that's kind of acceptable. Creed makes a stratagem free even if you already used it, but she only does it for regiment, so she doesn't do it for, like, squadron. Regiment is generally the things that you think of as, like, infantry, sentinels, that kind of stuff. But doesn't work on vehicles, so you can't have a Manticore be the one to use the free strat from Creed and do that. Here's the trick, though, is that I'm going to double check this to make sure I'm not crazy here, but I'm pretty confident you can do it for free with the batteries, because I believe they're also regiment. And if they are, I'm going to highly, as soon as I find their, you know what, screw it, we're going in the app. I don't know why I was looking anywhere else.
Should be under the Imperium armor index.
Yep, so here we go. I'm just going to add in double, let's see, what's it called?
This is the Earthshaker battery?
Yeah, the Earthshaker carriage battery.
Carriage battery.
It's a carriage battery. And come on, you've seen that model. That thing is a carriage. Let's just check the keywords. Beep, beep, boop, regiment. Love that. So here's the thing. You just need the Earthshakers to shoot something to proc it. And I don't mind having a mortar just like tucked into a unit. And we could theoretically replace that Death Corps unit with an infantry squad to just have a mortar and just say, oops, fired over the top. Or you could even replace, honestly, you could replace like the Medipack of the platoon command squad and the random guy with a gun. You could replace that with the mortar if you want a mortar in there. I'm fine with that. You can keep it in. But we need the Voxcaster in that platoon command squad. We need the Voxcaster, and I would like to have this standard as well.
What is the points on this thing?
80.
80.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that.
Sweet old Games Workshop. These guys have never been shot by indirect fire in their lives.
Yep.
They do not know. We have to teach them, guys.
Richard, you made a typo.
Yeah.
You put 1 in there.
1 what?
Earthshaker battery. You know these things come in 3s.
Oh, okay.
No, not like you know 3. I mean, just like copy and paste that thing.
Oh, copy and paste that.
Like, give me more.
We're getting 3 at 80 points per model.
Yeah, at 80 points a model, we sure are.
Hell yeah.
One of the best things about
Cheaper
these...
than a Skitaris unit.
Good. One of the best things, of course, about these glorious Earthshaker batteries is because they are regiment and not squadron, they can be ordered by anyone. So you don't need vehicle orders for that indirect.
Was I supposed to delete these
heavy weapon teams? In my opinion, sadly, yes.
Go on.
So like the cool thing that they can do is shoot out of a Chimera, but I just don't rate the las cannons. If I'm being honest, I just don't think they're worth it. Just 60 points is a lot because I think, by the way, at minimum one of those Chimeras is about to get axed.
Boop. How about the Hellhounds?
Oh, those are staying. Absolutely staying. All right, let me take just a minute here and figure out how many points I have in this list now because we have added some stuff. So let's get these Scout Sentinels. Good golly, Miss Molly, I love Sentinels. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit mad that GW managed to bait and switch me and I built 9 armored sentinels. But you know what? If I have to build more scout sentinels, like, I'm gonna be happy.
You got.
I got, but like,
You're gonna have 18 sentinels, and then they're gonna go back to like 6-man squadrons.
No, don't say that. Don't. My Ridge Runners are too fresh, man. It hurts.
Hey, I'm all right. If I was Games Workshop trying to make some money, I'd be switch those unit sizes all the time.
God. I hate that.
No, I mean, they switched Iron Striders. It's only 3-man units. If I could run 6-man units, you bet I'd run 6-man units.
And then we need oh wow, we still have points here. This is good. Hellhound.
All right, while you're doing that, we got Crust with a €2 super chat or £2 super chat. Both looking handsome today. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Crust.
Thank you so
really
much.
appreciate you for hanging out and joining us and super chatting. And then Kaiju with another $10 super chat, dominating the stream with all these super chats. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kaiju.
Thanks, Chapter Master John, Omnisire Siegler. I only like Gravis, Redemptor Dread, and Executioner Land Raider. If you've got any more suggestions on a list with these units, let me know. So Gravis, Redemptor, and Executioner Land Raider. Honestly, like John said, take the heavy Intercessor squads, take a couple Redemptor Dreadnoughts, get your Land Raider
Land Raider Redeemer with 6 Bolter Aggressors and the Biologist inside with Bolter Discipline.
Then get your Aggressors, get your Eradicators, and whatever points you have left, you have your Biologist Apothecary with the upgrade.
Yeah.
And what's the other character? Do you want a Captain in there to make strats free?
Captain in the second one, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because it only holds 14, and Gravis is 2, so you can only get 6 dudes and 1 character. You can't get 6 dudes and 2 characters.
Yep.
So if you had a second aggressor unit, I would put a captain in there. The one unit that is not on that list that I'm going to recommend is that if you like the Executioner, you might like his younger brother who actually grew up to be more successful, the Lancer.
The Gladiator Lancer.
All I'm going to say is if you like the Executioner, you will probably like the Lancer. That's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 Hellhound in right now, and that will take us to 1870.
So a third Hellhound.
Third Hellhound. Yeah, I really... So they're 125. They're like 11 wounds. They have a 2-up save, which is actually really nice.
2-up save.
They're 2-up save. I personally like giving them the Multi-Melta and the Inferno Cannon. Or not the Inferno Cannon, the Blast Melta Gun, just to have more Melta. Oh god, it's not the Bane Wolf.
I have to add the Achilles points. How many is that?
Oh, that was 40.
It's 40-point upgrade?
40-point upgrade.
So it's 100-point.
Clean hundo. Yep.
Okay.
Alright, so let me just check where we're at right now. I have Lord Solar, Platoon Command Squad, Ursula Creed. Those are my only 3 leaders. Mm-hmm. I have 1 Death Corps Squad, 1 Tenor. I have a Chimera, which currently has no one to go in it, so let's hold that thought. 3 Earthshaker Carriage Batteries, 3 Hellhounds, 3 Manticores, 3x3 Scout Sentinels. That's 1870. I like transports just because there's a very real point where there are a lot of vehicles on this table. And if someone wants to shoot the Chimera, at a certain point, I don't even care.
Yep.
So...
Does it protect your platoon squad or one of these squads?
They are too big.
Too big.
Because the command squad and the Death Corps unit is 15 dudes. So that just doesn't... Yeah, that's the thing, is you can't really get...
What about the Forge World Transport? What is it called?
The Crassus?
Mastodon? Crassus?
Don't tease me like that.
The Mastodon?
Mastodon's Space Marines.
Okay.
I would take a Crassus if I could. So... What I think I want here is I want a little more ability to play the game. I think I want to put Gaunt's Ghosts in, because that's 115. Gaunt's Ghosts can teleport every turn, in a way reminiscent of a Calidus.
Wow, that's good.
I think, though, that I was looking at it, I want to keep this list pure, but there is just a very real point where I look at it and say, boy howdy, wouldn't I rather have it?
You said 110?
115.
The same as a Calidus.
And they also have Lone Up roll.
Okay.
So it's like a guard Lone Up.
Are we grabbing exaction squads?
No. We're at 100 points left, and I'm just kind of staring at this, trying to figure out how So that Chimera is gone. Because that takes us to 100 points left clean. And I'm trying to figure out how I get 15 points in this for a Calidus. Because then we have double Lone Up, double pickup, beep boop, and then we're just like really just moving units all over the place.
Can we cut? What's the Medusa? Is that 60 points?
No, the Medusa is also 80. Okay. So, like, could I add a Medusa in without being sad? Absolutely. But not quite the same.
Is it the Hellhound becoming something else?
I think with that Hellhound, to my great regret, is about to become something else. I think one Hellhound is going to probably end up becoming just a Medusa battery, which is going to save us 45 points.
Medusa battery.
Yeah, that's also 80.
80. All right.
And I think what we're doing at that point is I honestly think I'm giving up on the dream of the Caldus Assassin. I think we're going to make this pure guard. I think we're taking a second Medusa battery.
A second Medusa battery.
We're just doing it.
All right.
How
much indirect fire can we...
As much as I darn need.
Nice.
All right, let me just check these points. That should put us at 1935, 65 points left, and I'm pretty confident that I'm going to end up investing that into a Scion squad. Because with 65 points, I am just looking for a little bit more stuff to play the mission. Let's just double check that. And I also like that we're kind of pure at the time. Our Scions? Oh, Scions aren't battle line. God. All right, 1 second, we're getting there. Scion, I just really want that to be battle line. Is 60 for just a 5-man, and that is 1995.
1995.
So we just need a Tempestor, a Tempestor Scion squad? Tempestus Scions?
Tempestus Scions.
Yep, and they are 60.
All right. Scions. And any particular...
6-0.
Yeah.
I mean, they get free war gear, so like they can have like
they get
their free war gear.
They
Take
get
whatever
the good
makes you
stuff.
happy. Yeah.
All right. So, feel happy with this guard list?
Yeah, that is an earth-shattering amount of indirect. And let me also point out here, we have 400 points locked up in those 5 batteries. They are very good. If you don't have access to those, no problem. I think I add in the Hellhound that we cut. I think I add in 2 Basilisks. And at that point, you basically get to upgrade some trash. So that's what I think it'd be. Is you could replace 5 batteries with 3 more tanks and some trash. And I think that's a very acceptable way to play it as well. I love keeping the Sentinels. I love the Hellhounds. I personally, I know Lynn Krieger had them in with the Flamers and the Heavy Bolter, which the Heavy Bolter is nice for applying the ignore cover downrange. I actually really like taking the Multi-Melta and the Bane Wolf. I think the Bane Wolf is the one that comes with the Melta weapons. That's what I personally prefer. Just get more high quality shots. And yeah, they're not like going to all hit, but we're doing that.
Which one's the Devil Dog?
The Devil Dog, oh, I think the Devil Dog is the anti-infantry 3+ one. I'm not going to lie to you, I really might be mixing up the Devil Dog and the Bane Wolf.
Guard have a lot of Forge-Rolled stuff.
No, those are GWs. Those are GW models.
GW ones?
Yeah, the Hellhound has 3 alternate kits, but 2 of them no longer exist. They just are now a turret option for the Hellhound. They just folded it in. Gotcha. So now it's a Hellhound with the guns. It used to be called a Devil Dog and a Bane Wolf.
Yeah.
All right, that is the end of this card list.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed this one. Mm-hmm. So we had that lovely Sisters list, Mech, and Astra Militarum represented in this Imperium Fix My list. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we're going to be rotating through them. So next week is going to be a Xenos one, and probably hit Chaos or Eldari after that, and
Absolutely.
Keep coming around. So if you want to submit your lists for Fix My List, make sure you are a War Room member, which you can subscribe down below in the description, thewarroom.vhx.tv. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-day free trial. You could also subscribe on YouTube if you prefer. And that'll get you access to our Discord server. And in there's a War Room channel called Fix My List Submissions, where you can post your list, mm-hmm. and we'll pick 3 every single week. Absolutely. So stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have a pre-recorded session of Fix My List Xenos factions, which we're very excited for. And, well, we're doing this every week. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video if you like the video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate everybody's super chats. Thanks so much, everybody. Mm-hmm. And hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know what you think of the list in the comments below. What have you been having success with these armies with? So thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.